Hi, I'm Cheryl Flanagan. I'm the founder of the Horse Rescue Relief and Retirement Fund. It's also known as SaveTheHorses.org. My interest in horses started when I was very young. I don't remember the exact moment, but I grew up watching Westerns. But about probably twice a month, a man would come by with a horse. Actually, it was a pony and a cart. And he would sell rags to the people in the neighborhood. So if I was outside, I could hear him 2 or 3 blocks away yelling, you know, rags for sale. And to me that meant I get to come and, you know, touch a real horse and smell it. And I think he went slow past my house because he knew I was going to come out and pet his horse. And the smell just being on my hands, I would just, you know, just relish it and smell my hands. And, you know, I mean, I was proud of the smell. I know my mother probably hated me bringing it into the house, but it was the best smell I ever had. After I was married and I had children, my husband and I, we moved down to Florida. We moved near Tampa Bay Downs. I bought my kids a pony. I think I paid $75 for him. He was just wonderful, at least we thought he was. I went to the racetrack because I met a lady that had worked there. And she took me into the store there so I could buy horse equipment for less money than I would at a local place. And as I went in there, I started meeting some of the trainers, and they had horses. If a horse wasn't winning, they didn't take him to the next racetrack. And he said, well, a big truck comes and they leave the horses that they don't want. They just leave them behind, and this truck comes and he takes them to slaughter. And it was just a thing to do. It's like disposing the excess horses. And they wouldn't be excess. They just didn't bother to look for homes for them. You know, economically, there was no way to do that. And they didn't want to. I mean, that wasn't part of their business. But some of those trainers are really horse lovers. That's why they got into it. I told them, just let me know what horses you want, and I'll come once a week and I'll pick them up. So we just loaded up our trailer, some friends of mine, and we'd bring them onto this big pasture. It was all fenced, and we'd let the horses go out there. I was involved with 4-H back then and in Pony Club, really for my own kids. So we would take these horses and just let them run around this property until they got all their exercise out of them and, you know, felt like they could just be horses now. And then we would get these kids who knew nothing to just go and take these horses and start working with them. And we found homes for them that way. Some of those trainers are still in Philadelphia or in Delaware or go to Tampa or other tracks, and they still call me and they send me horses. I have 4 different locations that I keep horses. I also have several foster homes, and that really does help. So most of the foster homes take care of all the needs of the horses. But on the 4 facilities that we have to provide the food and the hay and the time-consuming labor of being there and cleaning stalls. I take in a lot of horses. I got a call from a local animal control. They have a horse that was confiscated, and the judge awarded them the horse. So we're going to go pick that horse up on Tuesday. We probably have 90 horses in the 4 facilities that we have. I totally rely on a lot of wonderful volunteers and people that are willing to help. We have people that come out and do community service. Sometimes it's even kids in high school that have to do community service. We have organizations that come out as a group and do community projects.
I found the Horse Rescue Relief and Retirement Fund on the internet and started coming here about 3 years ago. And Cheryl has really opened up the rescue to all of the volunteers. There's not many places like this in the state of Georgia, so it's an important facility. Something about working with horses is different than working with other animals because they can read you and they can read your intentions. You can't lie to a horse. And so working with them, you have to come with a clean heart and with a clean conscience.
Matt came to us as a fox hunter. He was basically retired and couldn't be ridden anymore. Christine just fell in love with this tall, dark, handsome horse and has been taking care of him at the farm. Now she's moving Mac to a place closer to her home where she can see him more often and work with him and be friends forever. We have so many people that volunteer at the farm that feel the same way. You know, they've always wanted a horse. Just an opportunity to be near a horse, and you find if that's what you want, you find a way to do it.
They're my therapy. I can come here, and if I am uptight or tense or sad, again, they can read that, and especially Mac, he kind of gives me a little bit extra leeway. I mean, he's an experienced boy, or experienced gelding, and he knows what he's doing, and he's sensitive and patient with me when I need him to be patient.
We're trying to start another at-risk program for teens. But when we had the program before, there was a boy that was kind of sentenced to come to the farm for a few weekends. And when he got there, he really did not want to be there. He was actually kind of kicked out of the program. So when he had to go before the judge again, the judge sent him back. He was pretty of a macho kid, and he hung around with his macho friends, and he wanted that image. And when you look at him, I mean, it's an image that, you know, a lot of teenagers have. But inside that, it wasn't him at all. He finally decided he's going to stay in the program, and he came and he worked with the horses. And I had an old mare that came out of Cumming that was hit by a car twice in 15 years. She had a broken shoulder from years ago, so she crossed over when she walked. She was missing an eye, she had a big crack in her head, and she wasn't the prettiest horse in the world at all. She was about 30, 35 years old. So she had her own stall in the back, and she had her own little paddock that she went out with. And I think that's what he needed, because he was attracted to her out of all the horses I had. And I have some beautiful macho type horses. And he liked this old decrepit mare. One day he came, he wanted to know if he can come, you know, beside the program, if he can come during the week and help. And he wanted to see Mandy, her name was. So he would bring his friends, and, you know, he'd walk all the way through the barn. I mean, I have a 100-foot barn, and he'd walk all the way to the back with his friends, and, you know, he'd tromp through the barn, and he'd bring her out, and he'd say, you know, isn't she the most beautiful horse in the world? This one is mine. This is my horse. And, you know, they'd look at him like, she's not very, I mean, look at these other horses. Why did he pick her? I mean, it was a deep need for him to have somebody like her in his life. And after he came, it was probably 6 months later, Mandy got really sick. And it was just from old age, and she was dying. And we got in touch with him, and he was there probably within an hour after within an hour of her death. And he stayed on the ground with her. I mean, tears were coming out of his eyes. It was really emotional. It was so hard to watch. I mean, to see this other side of him that you would never see if it wasn't for a horse. It was great. He made a cross for her. He was there when they buried her. He stood over her grave. I still see the boy's father when I run into him in the neighborhood. It was just such a great experience. His father said it turned his life around. I have a million ideas of how horses can help people and how people can help horses. Our main goal is to find homes for every horse that we have. We do keep a few, because we have a few riding horses that we let our volunteers ride. We teach a few lessons so children can learn about horses. If someone wants to adopt a horse, and it's a rideable horse, they'd like to learn how to ride, we can give them a lesson. But probably 90% of the horses we'd love to find the right home for. The horses that are adoptable, we really like to adopt out. And there's a lot of people that are happy just to have a pasture ornament. You know, they don't necessarily need a riding horse, but we do get some riding horses. But we have a tendency to try to take in the horses that are more needy and that need us and need to be there. But if we can adopt 10 horses out this week, we could bring in 10 more horses. You know, if we find land that's reasonably priced and we're able to buy it, I mean, ideally we'd love to have a sanctuary and just keep some of the horses that, you know, aren't really highly valuable to anybody because they have such special needs. Really, every animal has a different story. It's not one big thing. Trudy is one of the horses that I've had since 1996. I would consider her not adoptable, even though people have been interested in her. Trudy is an Appaloosa horse. She was tied up in barbed wire by all 4 of her legs, and she was dragged behind a tractor. She has scars on her legs, but I think the scars inside are much deeper. It's very hard to talk about Trudy. You know, I hear a lot of stories, and a lot of them aren't true, but when we got Trudy, we realized there was something certainly deep inside of her that was really, really hard, you know, to get out. And, you know, all these years, I mean, I want to tell Trudy that I'm never going to hurt her, and I promised her, you know, I've told her over and over, and I want her to believe we'd never hurt her, and she still is. She's somewhat trusting. She's a lot better. Trudy is just really a wonderful horse. QT was a racehorse on the racetrack. He was 4 years old when I picked him up in Birmingham, Alabama. What happens to racehorses, if they don't win, they don't need to go on to another track, so they're kind of disposable. He used to bite and kick and strike just because he would stand in the stall all day, and it was more fun to get attention. Even bad attention was better than no attention. But he turned out to be an excellent therapy horse. He's a trailblazer. Children ride him all the time. It just took time and patience to work with him. Sweetie is an Appaloosa Arab cross. I've had her for 25 years. She's 30 years old. She has very long hair because her hair doesn't come out because of a disease that's more common with older horses. Body clipping her makes her look 10 years younger, and she's 15 years happier. She looks so good. I'm so happy. Rebel was a wonderful show horse, but he ended up with an injury, and when the owner brought him to us, the injury was already 8 months old. The owner literally gave up and handed me Rebel's reins and said, "He's your horse." Kathy just fell in love with Rebel. He's a sweet, wonderful horse, and Kathy saw way past his injury. Kathy found a place where he can be helped. She arranged for his transportation, his surgery, and his aftercare, and all the love that she can give him. He'll never be rideable, but Kathy doesn't care. As soon as she has her own farm, Rebel's going to live with her and her husband the rest of his life. Bravo is a Shire horse. At a year old, he was sitting on a feedlot in Illinois, waiting to be slaughtered, but the slaughterhouse had burned down. While he was waiting to be shipped somewhere else, we were able to buy some of the horses on the lot, Bravo being one of them. He's a very, very nice horse. He's 5 years old now. We've had him for 4 years, and with some time and training, he became a wonderful mascot for the farm.
Really good shot.
I could adopt 1 million Bravos because everybody wants them.
So it'll air on the community
they're certainly available out there. We use Ed Dabney to work with him. Ed Dabney is a very gentle trainer. He never loses his patience with a horse. He works in small intervals and asks the horse to perform a task and teaches the horse to do that in a nice manner. Our horse Bravo has become a representative for the American Horse Slaughter Prevention Act. We're encouraging people to call their senators and state representatives and urge them to pass this federal law to stop horse slaughter. Since we don't eat horses, we really don't want them slaughtered here. It's just nowadays, keeping horses is a little bit harder because the economy is so bad. And gas prices are higher, so the food prices for horses have gone up, food prices for people have gone up. Last spring, I didn't see it coming like it did. The pasture started getting dry, which means the hay fields in our area, really the whole southeast, got drier and drier. So we had to get hay from further away, which meant higher prices. We ended up going as far as Canada. Most of the donations are just from people that have come out here, people that have seen us, and people that are on the internet, people that are horse lovers. Sometimes people do it as a gift for someone. Got some money from a lady in Canada who I have no idea who she was. She just left us her money in her will. It was really nice. I really felt bad I couldn't meet her. People will support us. It's unbelievable. We could be down to how are we going to pay this bill next week, and somebody will come by and say, you know, I meant to write this check a few weeks ago, you know, and they'll come and hand it to me. We've had people donate refrigerators, you know, vehicles, anything that we'll take. You know, if we can't use it, we can sell it for whatever, and that'll help us buy more hay and more grain for the horses. Somebody will come and say, they cut this hay field and they can only store 1,000 bales, they have an extra 500. And of course we'll take it. You know, when they think of us, and it's really nice because we've been around a long time. I think a lot of people know us. And we have a group now that does fundraising. I mean, it's just a bunch of people that'll help us do fundraising, which we never have done before. I mean, I truly believe in my heart doing something good comes back. And it happens every day. I see more rescues opening up around the United States, which is, and really even around the world, which is really good. And I think there's a need for it because I think people are getting more compassionate. Horses, like other animals, need people. We've taken them in and done things and asked them to do things for us, like fight our wars, you know, and drive us into battle. You know, they hauled the milk truck and the rag truck when I was a kid. They plowed our farms. They've taken Americans across the country. We owe them that respect. And it's just a service that I'm very happy I'm able to do. Horses are an animal that we've domesticated, but we're also very in tune with them and they're very in tune with us. They teach us so much about ourselves and how we respect ourselves and how we respect others. We're just reflections to a horse, and they tell us very much about ourselves. We'll always be needy, and there'll always be horses that need homes. And they can find homes, they just sometimes need to take a little time to find the right place to be. The perception is that horses are disposable, and we want to change that perception by letting everyone see what wonderful animals they are. And they have a lot to give to us, and we need to be able to take it. It's free.